So here we are at Lund, and the Swedes began to form up their right side calve. They haven't been able to get it completely formed. They want to drop into a different set of orders or whatever. They didn't get enough continuations. However you want to put it, they're in a position where they're semi-formed right now. Then the Danes moved their calf. Now here I found out I cheated. There's more Danish center wing infantry that I didn't bring on yet. The Danish calves shouldn't have been on the board yet to that degree, but I'll live. So the Danes charge. They're coming up this hill, and because they're hitting column units, even just with pistol shots, they break the entire formation, and now they're going to slam into them, and we'll see what the effect of that is. This is kind of what I was saying. Waiting to form up seemed like a questionable idea in some cases. So that attack sliced through the Swedes, crushing 2 units, and we also had a leader loss. No one too important. Gala. We had a leader loss on the Danish side. He'll be coming back, but his temporary replacement's in place. We have named leaders as replacements all throughout this, even though they're not terribly advantageous. The fact that they lost their leader means the Danes stop. They can't roll for continuation or anything, which will give the Swedes a chance to try to form up this cav and do something with it. So we move into the 5th turn. And things are definitely kind of messy. The only really exciting thing was that little battle that occurred there. Here we've got the Swedish infantry trying to form up. A couple of Danish cav stuck over here. The Danes are in charge and kind of not in great shape. Now they're going to be able to hit these Swedish cav again because the leader was off the map, so they couldn't actually change formation. So they're still mainly in column, and they're going to maybe suffer a little bit more attack. The problem is they're behind the ridge. They're below the ridge. The steep hills mean anything down here, it's just not going to be able to be reached, because as soon as the Danes come down that hill, their formation broken, because right now they're in formation shaking. So they probably want to get out of charge and try to form up and actually fight as normal. Over here we've got the Swedish right cav, which is doing, as I said, some job towards getting itself into formation. The infantry across from them is doing a pretty good job as well, as is the left cav. So right now it looks like the Danes have the jump, not only down here, but also across the board. They look a little bit more solid in terms of how they're forming up. That may mean that the Danes make the attack. It's either that or wait for the Swedes, because you can't force someone to make an attack when they're not ready to move. But there's an advantage to hitting these poorly formed units. And one of the biggest things is, in the make-ready formation, some of these units are just too big anywhere near a combat location to really prepare themselves. That's why I've fallen into receive charge in a couple of places, because it's a little easier to get the unit formed up. But it's still a problem. I mean, these guys are still facing an asterisk. They can't go up or down those slopes without becoming formation shaken or whatever. They lose one level of formation. Alright, onward. Okay, so this is the end of turn 5. And this guy goes back to his command. We'll put him on the front. We got a lot of people. Okay. Well, Mainly the lines are reforming. We see the artillery beginning to come up. It's all up on the Swedish infantry over here. Cav's in good shape. Got the Danish left flank cav ready, pretty much. Danish infantry line is looking questionable. However, an attack up that hill with an exposed flank seems unwise. On the other hand, pivoting the infantry up to attack there requires some kind of cover from this cav. This is where the most interesting stuff happened. The Danes couldn't get out of charge orders. Luckily they didn't get a continuation and stay in charge orders, so they had to move up a little closer. Meanwhile, the Swedes are still trying to form up their cav. So there's a little bit of chaos going on at the battlefield, more than the historical settings usually have you sitting at, but I'm not sure with this battle. I haven't looked at it, but I get the feeling that this was sort of both sides were in motion very, very early. It may not have been terribly organized the way most of the battles are laid out. What do we got? Well, we got a couple of Swedish cav that are already dead, and remember the Swedes are behind in numbers. So a Swedish attack looks less and less palatable. However, the Danes don't have to attack. They don't have to fight here. And I don't know how willing I am to just say, hi, and sit there. Or whether I want to try to press what I see as an advantage. Here in the 6th turn, the Danes continuing to reform their infantry wing. Their cav wing slipped into rally order to try to improve its situation, but we jumped, well, not right into, but after one step in the make ready, we jumped into, or in receive charge, into a charge, and we're trying to break the weakened wing. Also attacking over here across a wall, moving some light infantry to take the village. Basically, I really want to sweep these guys out of the way. The more they really worry me. I can see an advance and an oblique that would be very powerful, but I need to get these guys from being able to really interfere with that kind of movement. Well, that charge didn't go well at all. I think this guy was repulsed, with a unit destroyed with the leader and one of the light infantry musketeers. We had another unit repulsed and one success, one Danish cav killed. Does not look good on that flank, and we're talking attacks that, except for this one, the one that got the leader killed is the one exception, but all the rest were at +3 or better. And I just rolled horribly. Well, that's the way this game goes, isn't it? So with seeing the Danes on the left flank taking the slow road of an attack, they had to make a interception check on this guy. Yep, we got one. Catch him here. He comes formation shaken, and I gotta take that fight right now. Okay, but they went from receive charge to make ready, moved slowly up, just within the range at which they can get momentum and their enemy cannot, which is 3 hexes, and then made charges. And just sort of perfect textbook switching over correctly. I usually don't bother with that because it takes more time to work it that way. We're going to see. It looks like it's going to be pretty effective here. Of course, they're going to come slamming down that hill, which is okay because after combat, they might be formation broken anyway. And they're really going to threaten this whole line, which has no reserves. I mean, there's so few Swedes to cover the territory, there is no room for reserves. I think this is a very bad day for Sweden coming up. That charge along from the Danish left flank has definitely done a lot of damage here to the Swedish right-wing cav. Still have what left to move? Both the Swedish central pieces have to move, and the Dane, their infantry is still available. Fersen's right wing was able to respond with a kind of mild countercharge, only 2 attacks. Destroyed 1 Danish unit, but also had another unit fall back, and again, these were both good odds attacks. The Swedes are really having trouble with their die rolls. Okay, and that's the end of 6 here at Lund. What do I have here? Left. That's him. Got a decent leader over here now. I'll stack him with Charles. Alright. So the Swedish infantry finish up the turn by kind of trying to position itself for that flank attack. Just hoping that the Cav can maybe prevent a disaster from this Cav. I don't know. But this is a far more open battlefield than I'm used to. I'm used to the lines being so set up in a way that attempting, to exploit gaps, there's just no opportunity until after the fighting started. I feel like I'm missing something still as to understanding why there aren't gaps of significant size in starting positions in these battles, why the lines were addressed so well before anyone started, because that's really one of the reasons I wanted to investigate these kind of games in comparison to a Civil War or Napoleonic. I'm not sure why the rush to attack doesn't happen, and I don't think I'm learning that answer here. It feels like the advantage is still to exploit the gaps. The units are still mobile enough, at least on paper with cardboard, to be able to operate reasonably well in that way. These are not formations that look like so for example, phalanxes, I understand why they can't move in this fashion, why you have to absolutely have them anchored on the sides. This I felt might be the same sort of way. If it is, and I suspect it really is, the game and the system as a whole doesn't do a great job of representing that, which is kind of sad. It kind of means you never will have the deploy to battle situations correctly represented. That's my fear. Anyway, I'm going to send this one up here.